What's good, Atlanta? This is the Blog and Dirty Podcast, where Dirty Bird is the word. If you haven't heard, I'm your host, John Bueller, lead writer at fansided.com. I want to give a shout out to Blog and Dirty Bird Nation here. A lot of subscribers last couple of weeks, last couple of days. A lot of engagement, a lot of views. I really appreciate all the love and support I've been getting in making the show a reality. Again, be sure on YouTube here to hit that like button like you want to see the Falcons make the playoff, and smash that subscribe button like you want to see them win a Super Bowl for once. So, yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about today. We are in the heart of the offseason, but again, this is the time of year where I thrive. This is when I feel like I can kind of dig into the nitty-gritty a little bit, not focus so much on what's happening, but more what is to come, forecast, project a little bit. But I think there is some news here that we do got to start with, and let's go with that for the time being with some you like that. Yeah, Kirk Cousins admitted that he was feeling a bit misled when the Falcons took Michael Penix Jr. that high. Who cares? Like, I don't need you to be a 36-year-old sad boy about this. Like, you're a little bit older than me. You're getting paid millions of dollars to play a child's game. And, like, you're going to make more money to go 3 and out on a drive than I'll make an entire year. And that's just the way it is. Look, I understand this is part of the Netflix show, Quarterback. Joe Burrow is also part of this. You can watch it if you want to. I'm not going to. I just kind of find it very interesting that, Cousins is speaking this candidly about it. Obviously, we live in a day and age where players are going to speak their mind. Social media and other platforms such as this are far more readily available than they ever have been. And Cousins is a big enough name or a brand and offers enough intrigue here to go on a show like this. Obviously, he's getting paid a lot of money to be the best backup in the NFL right now. And I'm okay with that because, again, we've only seen 3 starts out of Michael Penix Jr. We saw him play a lot of games at Washington and Indiana before that. Very excited about him. We're going to talk about him here in a second. But, the one thing that I keep going back to with Cousins in this comment is, who else was going to give you this money? He was like, oh, we were very comfortable. We could have stayed in Minnesota. Now it seemed as though Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah wanted to go in a different direction, and they drafted J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy sucks. The biggest hater of him known to mankind out there. I don't think he's going to be good. I think he goes to a great situation there in Minnesota, but you'd be at the same sort of situation with Cousins in Minnesota versus what he is in Atlanta. And he mentioned in the documentary there was a hit that New Orleans Saints edge rusher Peyton Turner put on him that kind of contributed to his downfall. He felt that he had to play through pain to try to basically keep his job away. He kept mentioning getting Wally pipped a bunch. And for those who don't know, that's the guy that played first base for the New York Yankees before Lou Gehrig went on his Iron Horse streak that was later broken by Cal Ripken Jr. We only remember Wally Pipp because of Lou Gehrig. But we'll remember Kirk Cousins for a lot of other reasons here. But look, you got to be a little bit smarter than this. You got to be a better teammate than this. And I understand he's like, it hurts to go to work. You play football, man. Like a lot of people out here, a lot of people in and around this country of ours, don't have the best jobs. I'm very fortunate that I get to write and cover sports for a living. Been doing that for a decade now. It pays the bills. Wish I could make a little more money doing this, but I guess that's kind of how we all feel in some capacities with this. But he's acting like a pauper in this sort of situation, and I'm just not buying it. Look, there may come a time where the Falcons need to lean on him in a situation where maybe Penix is resting, Penix doesn't play well, what have you. But it was kind of very interesting in the article that I believe Mark Raimondi wrote that it kind of felt that maybe there's another article that I read here too. I read a lot of stuff to kind of influence the show here. But it kind of felt that Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator, kind of felt like he had one hand tied behind his back with the physical limitations of Cousins. He's coming off an Achilles injury. He doesn't have the greatest arm strength. He is on the wrong side of 35. Penix is still young. Penix has a lot of zip on the ball. He can move a little bit around the pocket, although that's not really his game. Like, he can move, but he's not like a dual threat quarterback by any means. And I guess really to tie a bow on this with the Cousins sort of thing is like, I think Terry Fontenot, the Falcons general manager, kind of knew that this might happen. The idea and the allure of Penix was too good to pass up. We didn't see it at the time. I think we've seen it enough at this point to think that, yeah, it was worth the risk of taking him at 8 to possibly offend Cousins. But at that point, you don't want to have a situation where you don't have a quarterback. I think the whole just the whole debacle of the end of the Matt Ryan era, trying to pursue Deshaun Watson, like Arthur Blank's like, we're just not going to do that anymore. And Terry Fontenot's like, we're not going to do that either. Even though you had a bit of a transitional era, with Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, and just a bunch of other nonsense. At least you have two guys here in the quarterback room that a lot of other people respect, and Easton Stick as well. But look, I don't care that he was misled. It stinks, but this is a business. You made a lot of money in this business, and it's not always going to come up smooth sailing for you. There's going to be an opportunity there for him to start games. Maybe it's here later this year. Maybe it's somewhere else. But, you got to continue to put in the work. You got to continue to put in the grind because, you could sail off into the sunset collecting paychecks and, disappear at 31 years old like Sam Bradford. I mean, where is this guy now? You made a lot of money in this league. We just showed up to be a good teammate. So let's move on to our next topic here with some big Penix energy. So I came across this article on SI by Arkesh Ray talking about there's one thing that Penix did that I don't think any other first-round quarterbacks put forth last year. And it was, I think he threw for more yards in his first 3 starts than anybody of the 6 first-round quarterbacks. Again, this is a little bit, it's not empty calorie, but I think it's intriguing, and I think there's something worth discussing here. So this was there were the most quarterbacks taken in the first round this past in the 2024 draft since 1983. In 2024, you had Caleb Williams go 1 out of USC to the Bears, Jaden Daniels go 2 out of LSU to Washington, Drake May go 3 out of North Carolina to the Patriots. Penix was the 4th pick. He came out of Washington, went 8 to the Falcons. I believe at 10 or 11, I'm not sure on the number, the Minnesota Vikings took Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. And then at 12, the Broncos took Bo Nix out of Oregon, formerly of Auburn. And I would say of the 6 quarterbacks, we know nothing about McCarthy because he got hurt week 1. We kind of can forecast, his 5-star potential coming out of high school, playing at the IMG Academy in suburban Chicago before that. We've seen Penix in 3 starts. We know that Williams, Daniels, and Nix all started all 17 games last year. Daniels and Nix led playoff teams. Williams had a struggle and they had to fire their coach. And I think May had a struggle fest too. Eventually worked his way in there, but the Patriots are kind of cooked under Drought Mayo. So there's good and bad with every quarterback here. But I would say like Penix threw for what was the exact number? Penix threw for 737 passing yards in his first 3 starts. That just edged out Drake May at 725. Daniels had 664. Caleb Williams had 630, and Bo Nix had 600. So what's important to me here is it may have been like partially because it was so late in the season and the Falcons were in a playoff push. And it's like, look, dude, you got to throw the ball. But it just kind of shows the Falcons offense and the coaching staff, trust Penix a lot in those spots. I wrote about this today on fanside.com about the Bears and the Vikings first game in week 1 this year. The Bears are a slight home favorite at 1.5, but they were also initially getting 1.5 points at home. So it's a 3-point swing. And I think a lot of it's because the Bears are really excited about their offseason and what all happened. But there's also some doubt in the eyes of many with J.J. McCarthy, including yours truly. But in that situation with McCarthy coming off a knee injury, having never played before in a hostile road environment versus a rival, I would venture to guess that Kevin O'Connell will basically, put the bumpers up in the bowling lane for him a little bit, but to keep the training wheels on just a little bit before he's comfortable. I know the Vikings have a really tough first 5 or 6 games this season. They got to play back-to-back in Europe on the road, I think versus the Browns and the Steelers. I'm not sure what order, but they got to play on the road over there. Anyway, it just kind of tells me when it comes to Penix that the Falcons were ready to start him when they did. The move was not, we got to make a move now. It was kind of like, okay, we're ready. We still were able to win the game over the Raiders in a really awful Monday night game in Cousins' final start for the team, probably. But they were ready to go. It's like, okay, the Giants suck. Let's go out there and try. And we'll see how you can do in your final two starts versus the Commanders and Panthers. Didn't win either of those games, but those games went down to the wire. If you win those two, you're in the playoffs. And maybe we win the division instead of Tampa Bay. But what I'm really kind of getting at is the Falcons are looking at Penix to throw the ball. This isn't like, oh, he's going to run around. Like, no. They're like, in the context of the offense, we're expecting you to throw. So I'm looking at, Pro Football Reference here. He may have only completed 58.1% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. But his yards per attempt is 7.4. And I think it's also his, yards per completion is 12.7. So yeah, he's got to be more accurate. But like his yards per attempt is in a decent spot. Like it could be better. I mean, he's not averaging over 10 like Matt Ryan did in his MVP season, but like we're not looking at a guy where he's afraid to throw an out route like Mitchell Trubisky was or Drew Aller is now, or he seems like, I'm going to grip it and rip it. I trust my arm and my cannon to fit the ball in a tight window there and allow the play to develop here. And I can certainly get behind that. And I kind of felt that like this almost kind of runs counter to what the Falcons were initially doing. It's like, I kind of thought when they drafted him, he was kind of more of a project than a prospect, just because the Cousins of it all. We're like, okay, he's ready to go. Cousins is going to be a starter for 2 years or so, and then they'll eventually pivot to Penix like the Packers did from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. That was the plan that Terry Fontenot put forth, said he had in place. I wouldn't have gone that direction, but here we are, and he's making the shots. He makes a lot more money than me to do this, so like I'll trust him in that sort of instance there. What is really important to understand here with Penix is like he had a lot of starts in college. He was a star player at Indiana. He was a star player at Washington. He played a national championship his final year at UW. Had the playoff have been 12 teams in his 2020 year during COVID at IU, the Hoosiers would have been like the 11th seed. Like they would have made the playoff before even this past year. And we know that he's been coached up, playing under Kalen DeBoer at both places. We know that he's being coached up by, the likes of Zach Robinson, TJ Yates here on the Atlanta staff. It's they basically, with what the Falcons did last year with Cousins just playing so poorly down the stretch, they were like, you know what, we have to put him out there. We don't know if he's going to sink or swim, but we got to try. And I think that galvanized the Falcons a little bit. Yeah, I think that his lack of rapport with the number one team showed up at some times. But it also kind of showed a quick connection with some other guys. Like Drake London, we know what a stud he is. It'll be interesting to see how much more of a rapport he has with Darnell Mooney. We can only hope that Kyle Pitts gets his ass together and has a great season with the Falcons, potentially his last. We shall see. We'll see what happens with Ray McLeod expanding his route tree as number 3. Maybe Kaderil Hodge is a more vibrant part of the offense as well. Talk a little bit more about the receiving core and the offense as a whole here in a second. But look, I think that being asked to throw the ball a lot shows how much trust and faith the Falcons have in this guy. And I know he's only had 3 starts, but I'm a lot more confident about where the Falcons are than I have been in years past. I mean, I'm more confident about the Falcons than the Braves right now. Braves are really struggling. And I wrote about that for fanside.com. Like, I would venture to guess the Falcons and the Hawks are going to be the 2 teams in Atlanta people are going to talk about. Hawks are going for it. Hawks are like, you know what? You have the likes of Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton out with injuries. We acquire Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kennard, Nikhil Alexander-Walker. Let's see what happens. Let's go. And I kind of feel like the Falcons are kind of on the uptick as well. It's been a long time, and I'll definitely talk about their playoff drought streak possibly coming to an end here in a second. But yes, all in on Penix. I've got big Penix energy coursing through my veins, and this is the Blogging Duty podcast. So let's move on to our next topic here. Let's blow the whistle. Is Bijan Robinson a top 5 running back in the NFL already? Hell yeah, brother, blow the whistle. Absolutely, 100%, no doubt. So Will McFadden wrote about this for AtlantaFalcons.com in conjunction to an article that was put forth by Jeremy Fowler and some of his ESPN colleagues. So they power ranked, the execs, coaches, and scouts rank the top 10 running backs in the NFL for 2025. So here's the top 10. I'll rattle them off real quick, and we'll kind of discuss this. Number 1, you've got Saquon Barkley of the Eagles. No real complaints there. 2, you got Derrick Henry of the Baltimore Ravens. I think that's a little high, but Derrick Henry is one of the greatest players I've ever seen. 3, you've got Jahmyr Gibbs with the Lions. And then at 4, you've got Bijan Robinson with the Falcons. There was some debate there. Robinson's kind of more of the workhorse because Gibbs has a little bit more of a split with carries with David Montgomery there in Detroit, whereas Algier is kind of more of the thunder to Robinson's lightning. I think Fowler did say that, Gibbs has more home run potential than Robinson, but Robinson's just as steady as they come. I've also came across something that like his all-purpose yards, like he's tracking to be the next Edgerrin James or LaDainian Tomlinson. Anytime you were compared to those two legendary running backs, that is so exciting. Like LaDainian Tomlinson's probably my favorite NFL player that never played for the Falcons. Like I love me some LT. I had the pleasure of talking to him. We know how important Edgerrin James was to the Colts. Then he had a good success there with the Cardinals, and then obviously had a really fantastic career for the U at Miami. Still haven't been the same team really since he left, to be honest with you. Maybe a little bit later. I think like they had other guys like Willis McGahee and other things like that. Yeah, I think he went to the Colts like right after Peyton Manning got drafted, effectively replacing Marshall Faulk. So guys that can do it all in the backfield. That's what makes Bijan Robinson so special. And 5 is Christian McCaffrey with the 49ers, 6 Josh Jacobs with the Packers, 7 Jonathan Taylor with the Colts, 8 James Cook with the Bills, 9 Joe Mixon with the Texans, and 10 Alvin Kamara with the Saints. Don't really have any beef with the guys in the top 10 too much. Really, I think those are all justified. I probably have my dog James Cook a little bit higher. I think he's been a huge part had a huge part in the breakout season to help Josh Allen win MVP. Christian McCaffrey, again, the guy that I talked about on last episode with Bijan Robinson working out with, as well as his brother Luke McCaffrey. That's good company to be in, but McCaffrey gets hurt a lot. And he's approaching 30. I don't know how much more he's got left in the tank, but like he needs about 2 more Pro Bowl caliber seasons to get to the Hall of Fame. But again, he probably needs a Super Bowl to get there too, because there's other running backs. Like Fred Taylor did more with worse franchises. He needs to probably get there before him. But Christian McCaffrey is a fantastic player, unbelievable at Stanford. But it's also funny. Derrick Henry, better at Alabama, better at him now. Never gets hurt. Fantastic player for the Titans. And then now is leading the Ravens, who I would probably say is my pick to win the Super Bowl right now. Very, very high what Baltimore can do. But as I think about this with Bijan Robinson, it's like you're in the sweet spot. And I mean, he's entering year 3 out of Texas. He only played 3 years at UTX. He's from, I believe, Tucson originally. Tremendous, upstanding individual. I know that when he's done, he's probably going to pursue an acting career. Again, I don't know how long he's going to play in the NFL, but like I will say though, like we're at that point right now where this is where it happens. Like the next 3 or 4 years, like it's going to be really good. I will say it's very interesting that Gibbs was also drafted in the first round out of Alabama by way of Georgia Tech. He's from Dalton, just up the road here in Georgia. People were kind of questioning, like, oh, why would they take Gibbs in the first round? Or why would you take Bijan Robinson? Could have taken Jalen Carter out of Georgia. He went to the Eagles a little bit later. I'm thrilled with Bijan Robinson being here in Atlanta. He's a pillar of this organization. He's a guy that I think we can lean on, we can trust. Just everything you would want to have out of a marquee player. Very easy to root for, kind of has infinite praise. Like I think people at Oklahoma, people that have Oklahoma ties or the Saints, they're like, you know what? This is a good dude. I can't really say the same about Alvin Kamara. And I'll just leave it at that. As far as having Barkley and Henry at the top of this list, like Barkley, I was kind of felt like, man, the Giants are just wasting his time. Whereas I think Henry's he's really propping up the Titans considerably. And I'd be lying to you. I was thoroughly surprised that Saquon Barkley had the year that he did. I always knew he had it in him. I'm kind of glad he finally put it all together to that degree. Again, where you go matters, where you play matters. But that just kind of leads me to believe that with Bijan Robinson, so if we get the 2025 season, we got some time till about 2030 for Bijan to kind of really just hit it and be go be the best running back in Atlanta Falcons history. Go be better than Warwick Dunn. Go be better than William Andrews. Go be better than Jamal Anderson. Go be better than Gerald Riggs. Just to go break all the records, man. Be better than Devontae Freeman. Just go, dude. That'd be a lot of great running backs I've seen over the years, man. Yeah. So I always love this team when we can run the football. It always makes me very excited. I'm okay with him at 4. And I know some people are like, well, let's put Gibbs ahead of him. I mean, well, the line that was kind of like the line of demarcation. Look, the Lions have just won more than us the last couple of years. He's been a big reason for that. And you know what? Good for him. Good for the Lions. They were a sad bag of crap for a very long time. They had their moments in the 90s with Barry Sanders and Herman Moore on those teams with, I think, Wayne Fontes as the coach. But, like, it's been a painfully long time since the Lions were this good. Like, we're talking, like, back in the 50s, like, peak Detroit ever. So, yeah, I'm all in favor of Bijan Robinson being a top 5 running back in the NFL. If I have the number 1 overall pick in fantasy football, there's a chance I might take him 1. If I'm picking the top 4, I hope he's there. All right, let's move on to the second half of our show. Let's go with some diamonds in the rough. Came across, I mean, this is a big thing here, came across an article on Falcons Wire. Matt Urban put this together about like projecting who the 53-man roster is going to be. And he's got a pair of undrafted free agents making the team, and cornerback Cobee Bryant and wide receiver Nick Nash. And I'll kind of explain like why it seems to be the case that those undrafted free agents are going to make the team. So, I mean, I do cover college football. That's probably the sport I know probably the best. I know NFL really well too. So Cobee Bryant, not the Hooper Cobee Bryant, legend, the Black Mamba. Cobee Bryant played at Kansas, and so he had been all conference with the Big 12. Last year, the Jayhawks were not good. Like, they really struggled for the first half of the year, and they kind of got hot, nearly made a bowl game. But he's been playing for Lance Leipold. Lance Leipold is a head coach that I have a lot of respect for. Nobody went to Kansas. I mean, outside of like Lance Leipold now a little bit, and Mark Mangino back when I was in high school. A lot of Les Miles, a lot of David Beatty nonsense in between. But Turner Gill coached that team. Yeah, the Jayhawks historically, like throughout most of my lifetime, the Jayhawks have been the worst team in the Big 12 by a considerable margin. Like, they're a basketball school. That's kind of where they put their resources in it. Like, when it's bad at KU. But a guy that maybe he's undersized, maybe he didn't play for like the best team. Like, Kansas has sent some pretty good defensive backs to the NFL. I mean, notably Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr. both started there. Again, under Mark Mangino and everything like that. But you're looking at a guy that's playing in a league that has been defined by the air raid offense, a lot of passing. And again, maybe the receivers are not running the most complex routes, but you're getting a lot of reps versus guys trying to make plays in space. And I think that, the fact he went undrafted, and there might be a role for him, looking kind of in like, maybe another corner, maybe he's going to be vying for that spot with, Mike Hughes, maybe D. Alfred's going to be more in the nickel spot. I know that's kind of where they're looking to use former Oklahoma standout Billy Bowman Jr., late round pick for the Falcons as well in this past year's draft. But I think adding them both to the defensive backfield is huge to the team. And I would say, like, look, this is a guy that's playing with a chip on his shoulder. I mean, unless you grew up like in the Kansas City area, like you're not dreaming about playing football at Kansas. Like, nobody is. Like, you want to play for the Chiefs. I mean, K-State's been the better program in that region of the country. Mizzou has its moments too, but like I would say, like Kansas State's been mostly viable throughout most of my 35 years on earth. Kansas, not so much. But like, you're looking at a guy who they entrusted a lot and put a lot of stuff on his plate at Kansas. And I think when you have a guy that can do a lot, that has a competitive chip on his shoulder, that's a cool name as well, going to what I would venture to guess is to say is the best unit of the Falcons defense. I like their secondary more so than the front seven, just because like we know what Jesse Bates III is. We know what AJ Terrell is. We know what Mike Hughes is capable of. Xavier Watts is now in there at safety as well. There's a lot of dudes in the secondary, and I'm very excited. Plus, that's also the position group that Raheem Morris played at Hofstra, I believe, back in the day. Yeah, I know he's coached receivers. He's coached all over. He knows a lot of different stuff here, which I think adds a lot of value to him as a head coach, particularly from a defensive mind. But yeah, very high on Cobee Bryant here. I take a sip of water a second, maybe cough, and I'll talk about Nick Nash. Yeah, when you're talking like 25, 26 minutes straight, these things happen. So Nick Nash, I've talked about this before. This is a former quarterback recruit at San Jose State, and he transitioned to wide receiver, and he played for Brent Brennan, and then he played last year for Kinui Matalolo. Brent Brennan is now the head coach at Arizona. I don't think it's going to work out for him at U of A in Tucson. I just kind of feel that like Jedd Fisch is just a really good head coach, and he'll have success at Washington very quickly. It also helps having guys like Tetairoa McMillan and Noah Fifita on your team. That really helps. But San Jose State, historically in the Mountain West, is like one of the least resourced teams. Like they're the only school with state in their name that's not joining the Pac-12. Fresno State, Boise State, Utah State, San Diego State, Colorado State. Like they're all going to go with Oregon State and Washington State and Texas State now, and Gonzaga in basketball too. But like San Jose State's kind of stuck there with like UNLV, Nevada, Hawaii, Air Force, Wyoming. Like it's a different level of playing field. I know the Mountain West has changed a lot. I know the WAC kind of went away, but like in recent years, I would say the powerhouses of the Mountain West, like I would say Boise State and Fresno State carried the most clout. I've always said Colorado State's a sleeping giant. When it works, Air Force can be really tough as well. And then obviously UNLV is having a really good stretch here of late. Well, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how Dan Mullen does there, taking over for Barry Odom now at Purdue. Shouldn't have fired Marcus Arroyo, but he's thriving at Arizona State. So anyway, Nick Nash is also playing. He's at San Jose State and got his yards, made a lot of stuff happen. Very physical possession receiver. Kind of feels like Drake London light a little bit, if you will. And I also think that like you also had Kinui Matalolo come over. Guy I have a lot of respect for. Guy a couple years ago was the longtime head coach at Navy. Again, a triple option school. Service academies typically are that because you got to get guys in. You can't be too big. Like your lineman can't be 300 pounds. You got to have guys in there that can basically be agile. You run a very rudimentary, regimented offense like that. It plays very well at schools like Army, Navy, and Air Force. Also academic institutions like Georgia Tech ran it for a while there under Paul Johnson, kind of hurt the program, but also had a lot of success. When I look at Nick Nash, I feel like he's got a really good chance to be that wide receiver 5, maybe even 4. Look, we know number 1 is going to be Drake London. Number 2 is going to be Darnell Mooney. Ray McLeod or number 3. We'll see what happens. I think he probably stays there. 4 is Kadarrell Hodge. He was a Pro Bowler on special teams. Had that big game-winning touchdown to beat the Bucs on Thursday Night Football. Probably one of the best moments for the team last year. He's going to have a more vibrant role in this offense as well. I look at Nick Nash as like a guy that maybe if you played like at Power 4 school, like he'd get more notoriety. I mean, God, if he played in UNLV, like or Boise, like he's getting drafted because the San Jose State of it all is kind of working against him, for lack of a better word. And I think as long as he develops a rapport with Penix, I think he can be trusted. And again, this is a guy that a lot of people, the same thing with Cobee Bryant, were like, I'm kind of surprised that he wasn't drafted. When you've been hearing that from a lot of talent evaluators and scouts and whatnot, that makes me smile. And again, like I talk about this when I write baseball articles, like prospects do nothing for me in baseball. They do a little bit for me in football. Basketball, we can go either direction here. But like when you have with football, because it's a collision sport, it's a game of regulated violence. It's a game of your will versus mine. Can we out execute you? Like there are reps to be had. You've got 11 guys on the field. If one guy screws up, maybe the whole play is dead. It's more next man up than anything else. It's a gladiator sport, if you will. And there will be opportunities out there. There will be sets where the Falcons go 4 wide. I mean, you're remembering that like they're basically running 11 personnel, meaning 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end. That's why Kyle Pitts hasn't always fit in with his new system. He works better in a more of a pro style where like he's kind of acting like wide receiver 3, but he's really a tight end in some capacities. It's all about the fullback there in the backfield with 11 personnel or with pro style. I don't know. I don't want to do the math right now. I'm taking some vacation after this episode, but I'll be back next week. Same time, same place. Maybe it'll be a little earlier. I think it's 11:30 today Eastern. Might be coming to you guys at 11 next week. But I'm gonna have definitely a show for you guys because again, you guys want it, you guys need it, and I gotta have it with you guys. This is, we're really hitting a really good stretch here. Coming up on about a year of doing the show. I've learned so much. I've had so many great people on with me. Really excited about this team. Really just. I appreciate you guys allowing me to grow and get better solo hosting the show. It's a different sort of show. Obviously, when I've got people on, I can be a little more comical. That's kind of how it is with False Start. Be sure to check that out. That's my college football show I do with my colleague on fanside.com, content director Cody Williams. We do that twice a week, Monday and Thursday. And in the season, we'll do it on Saturdays after games. And when the playoff happens, do that on Tuesdays. Just constantly talking. Still have my voice, the dulcet tones of John Bueller. You're welcome, I suppose. But really tie a bow on this with Cobee, Bryant, and Nick Nash. I hope they make this team. They seem like guys that are easy to root for. They seem like a lot of players who want to have Chris Lewis. Yes, I am so ready for this season as well. Cannot. I want it to be here. I want it to be here so badly. This team's giving me optimism. Again, I can't all the teams I root for. Not all of them can be good at the same time. Braves suck right now. But the Falcons have a lot of stuff going for them. I'm really, really, really excited about what is to come here with the Falcons here. So we're going to move on to our penultimate topic here with some playoffs. You're kidding me. Your Atlanta Falcons are the most likely team to end their longest active playoff drought streak this season. That's a little wordy, but I don't care. I write for a living, and that's kind of what it is. So let's see how I got this. Make sure you have the author credit. Garrett Podell wrote about this earlier in the week for CBS Sports. So he went through and highlighted every team in the NFL that has missed the playoffs each of the last 4 seasons. The longest active playoff drought streaks in the NFL. So the Jets had the longest at 14. They haven't made the playoffs since 2010, I think, which I think was Mark Sanchez was still their quarterback. Yeah, second-year player. Out of USC, Rex Ryan's second year there in Florham Park. It's been a long time. Falcons are tied for second with the Carolina Panthers at 7. Neither team has made the playoffs since 2017. They were both wild card teams when I believe I think the Saints won the division that year. That was kind of basically the beginning of the end with Cam Newton. And then the Bears, the Colts, and the Saints have all missed the playoffs each of the last 4 years. In order, Podell ranked them. He has the Saints as the least likely to end their streak, Panthers at 5, Jets at 4, Colts at 3, Bears at 2, Falcons at 1. I'd have the Panthers a little bit higher than 5. I'd probably move them to I'd probably put them ahead of the Jets, maybe ahead of the Colts. But I think with those teams, it's kind of more along the lines of weak division. We know the Bills reign supreme in the AFC East, and we know that the Houston Texans kind of have a stranglehold in the AFC South. But number 2 is up for grabs. And I could see the Patriots, I could see the Dolphins getting a second place finish in the AFC East. The Colts could do it in the AFC South, so could the Jags. I'm probably more bullish on the Titans because Cam Ward's a little more of an unknown commodity, but so I'm pretty fired up about that. So don't Chris, you're I don't mind us being an underdog. Just glad about the Saints. Yeah, I think anything is better than being a Saint at this point. They're gonna suck. They're gonna be really bad. I almost feel bad that Tyler Shock's to be fed to the Wolves this year, but that's gonna allow them to draft either Cade Klubnik out of Clemson, maybe Lenore Sellers if he leaves. Not going to be Arch Manning. The Mannings aren't going to let that happen. Probably going to draft Doug Nussmeier's son, Garrett, out of LSU. And we're going to have to deal with that for 2 years, for a long time. So Saints are going to be down, but I think that they're kind of tanking. But we'll see. Got to beat them for sure. But as I kind of go across here, I think really the big thing that everybody was talking about when it comes to the Falcons is look, they beat the team who won the division last year, twice. Like they beat the Buccaneers head to head. And I think that's a huge step in the right direction. Yes, you split with the Saints. Yes, you split with the Panthers. But look, anybody who's watched NFC South football for a few years knows like asking any team to do better than 4-2 in divisional play is a bit of a stretch. Like you're going to lose. Like this division, like it's so close. There will be one team in the division that's bad. Last year, the Panthers are probably the worst, but they did kind of finish on an uptick. They did beat us at home. Bryce Young looks a lot better. We'll see what happens with they've got a good receiving core too. We'll see what Dave Canales does in year 2 in Charlotte as well. But I go back and forth on this. I'm trying to like hedge the bet. I'm trying to figure out where the line of demarcation is. Like there's some moments where I'm like, okay, maybe we're getting too excited about them making the playoffs with the Falcons, or maybe maybe other people are looking down on it as well. I feel as though for the time being, I still see the NFC South as a one-team division. I'm looking across at the NFC. So I would be shocked if Philadelphia and Washington not make the playoffs. So like I would put them both in there. Washington may be my early pick to win the NFC. Although Philadelphia is really good too. In the NFC North, I would still probably go with the Lions. I don't really trust the Vikings. The Packers are probably going to make the playoffs too. The Bears could, but again, like I think Ben Johnson bit off more than he can chew. I don't think he realizes how screwy the Bears are. I lived in Chicago for 3 years. That's a tough. The fans there. It's everybody up there is like Kevin McCarthy through the league, just absolutely smothering. It's tough to win there. It's also tough to win when the McCaskies are calling the shots, and you got Ryan Poles as a GM, who I don't think is good at his job. That's neither here nor there. I'll take Terry Fine over him for the time being, and maybe that'll blow up my face. I was a card-carrying member of Alex Anthopoulos until this year. Things can change on a dime. Anyway, then I look at the NFC West. That the Rams won the division there. I kind of feel like this is the last year for the Rams to get it. If they don't win a Super Bowl and make the playoffs this year, they're going to hit the reset button there for a while, and they're going to stink. Your guess is as good as mine with what the Seahawks are going to do. 49ers, they paid Brock Purdy a lot of money. He deserves it. But I would also argue that, like, you pay him that money. Again, it doesn't kick in until 26. The 49ers don't have a good offensive line anymore. Christian McCaffrey's been hurt. They've lost some guys in free agency. They also finished in last place last year. And I would also argue that like the Cardinals are kind of my sneaky team out of the NFC West this year. I don't know how everybody feels about Kyler Murray. I think he's talented. I just really like Monty Austin and I think Jonathan Gannon's a good head coach. They got to win. I think they got to win now because Michael Bidwell is kind of a meddling owner. He's kind of like the new Jim Irsay, rest in peace, Jim. But he's kind of in that cloud. Like he cares a lot, but he gets in the way a little bit. As far as the Falcons ending the playoffs, so right now, this is how I would see my playoff field. I'm just doing this right off the fly. I'm going to say your 1 seed's still Philadelphia. I think that they're just excellent. The Eagles are just really good. So I'll put them at 1. 2, probably going to go with Detroit, just because like I think whoever wins the NFC North is probably they're going to have some pellets in the wall, and even though I think the Lions may be a massive regression candidate, you still got Dan Campbell, you still got Jared Goff, you still got Aiden Hutchinson, you still got Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph in the secondary, Amon-Ra St. Penix. You got dudes. Offensive line's really good too, even though Frank Ragnow just retired. That team's going to be really good. 3. You know what? We're going to be 3 seed. I'm feeling it. I feel that like there's a confidence here with the Falcons. You're going to be a 3 or 4 if you win your division, and I do kind of wonder with the Buccaneers. They've got a great offensive line too, maybe a little bit better than ours. But like the coordinator attrition, that might be problematic in some aspects. I also think that like anytime Baker Mayfield overstates his athleticism, he gets himself in trouble. I do love Baker Mayfield. I've interviewed him before. Nice guy. There's things about him that I like about him, and I'm glad he's able to reinvent his career. Sucks it's in the division, but he's made Tampa viable, so good for him. But then I would also say, okay, I put Arizona 4, winning the NFC West. In my 3 wildcard teams, probably put Washington as the 5 seed. I feel like they're going to be really good, like right there neck and neck with Philly. 6, let's put the Packers. And then 7, maybe I said that this is a one-team division. It's going to come down to either the Buccaneers or the Rams. And honestly, like I think the Buccaneers they're holding on a little bit better than the Rams. I think the Buccaneers, like if they don't make the playoffs this year, like they have a good chance of making it next year. Whereas I don't necessarily feel that to be the case with the Rams. I would also say that Minnesota and Chicago will be decent. I would also argue that Dallas will be good. Carolina will be good. The bottom of your league is probably, you're looking at like the Saints the Saints and Giants are going to be really bad. That's really the only 2 teams in the NFC I can say for certain are not going to be good. Again, it's going to be a little more jumbled than expected, but like Philadelphia is going to be good. Washington's going to be good. Detroit's going to be good. New Orleans and New York are not going to be good. And a lot of stuff can change here. Like, it remains to be seen, but I am bullish on the Falcons. I'm excited. I think they're going to do it. And we're going to move on to our final topic of the day with some grid splits. Just want to round out the show with something kind of light, nothing, just my thoughts here. Wrote a lot about TJ Watt. I've even connected the Falcons to him. What are the chances the Falcons really have to trade for TJ Watt? Not as much as I would think. Again, it's kind of more along the lines of like if it really gets that toxic with the Steelers. Again, I think Adam Schefter talked about this with TJ Watt with regards to Terry McLaurin with the Commanders. Like, it's more likely than not that they return and work it out because, like, look, these are guys you drafted. These are players that you're hoping, like, close out their Hall of Fame level careers with you. Terry McLaurin's been incredible for the Commanders. They have a chance to win a Super Bowl this year. They're probably the worst team that I think could. I don't know if we're quite there, but, like, Washington's kind of got that uptick there. Also, although we know what Dan Quinn does in Super Bowls. He's been a part of 2 awful losses with us, and then also with thanks to Darrell Bevell and Marshawn Lynch and Russell Wilson in Seattle. So yeah. But anyway, I would also say that like here's why I put the Falcons in there. They could probably use another edge rusher. I know Leonard Floyd's my dog. I loved Jalen Walker at Georgia. I'm coming more and more around on the idea of James Pierce Jr. I want to see Arnold Ebiketie hit it. Very intrigued by what Braylon Trice could do in his first full season because he got hurt in the preseason as well last year. It'll be interesting to see how Jeff Ulbrich and Raheem Morris really, and I think Nate Ollie, the new defensive line coach, how they get that unit to work. Again, I think it's too late in the offseason. I think it would be devastating for the Steelers to do this. But I kind of wonder, like, there's things where, like, the Steelers, like, you're lucky to be here. And Watt's like, you're lucky to have me. Like, his Steelers experience is not the same as what we've talked about. There's a reason why I have Hines Ward behind me. He played at Georgia. I've interviewed him. This is a guy that I think ultimately defined the standard with the Steelers. Him and Troy Polamalu, those are the guys that were like the standard bearers. Not Ben Roethlisberger, not really anybody else. Like, those guys kept people in check. And just the Mike Tomlin of it all just drives me insane. It's very difficult for me to write positive articles about the Steelers. I'm just so done with it. Like, I don't care if you can win 9 games a year. Just stop. Like, just lose and go draft another quarterback. It's okay to be bad. I've seen it. They're not going to win a playoff game with Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to play in a Super Bowl. It's just some disgusting Stockholm syndrome that has the whole part of Western Pennsylvania completely under their thumb. It's insane. Like, I'd rather let's see if Paul Skeens can play quarterback for the Steelers. Let's see what he can do there. Make more money than Bob Nutting's not going to pay him at some point. But with TJ Watt, the reason I've had the Falcons here is they could use a pass rusher. And I am of the belief that if he were to be traded, it would be to an NFC team that can win now. And I would argue that the Falcons are in a group of about, I don't know, I think I've rattled off like 9 NFC teams that could conceivably trade for him. So basically, like, everybody that's not named the Saints or the Giants could. I mean, I think I mentioned like Washington would be a good fit for him. I think Detroit would be a good fit for him. Philadelphia, of course, he'd go there. But like, you wonder if the Steelers would trade with the rival in state. I don't know. The only AFC team I've said he could go to is the Patriots because, like, Mike Vrabel played for the Steelers briefly. They're kind of building something. I think you could kind of sell them on like a long-term play, like, close out your prime with an ascending Drake May. We can pay you money. I think the big thing that I came across with it is the Cousins contract. And again, like, the money you'd have for Watt is going to Cousins. It's a little more complicated than that. It's just the Falcons not in the best sort of cap spot. But another team that could get him is the Panthers. And the Panthers is like, again, it's kind of an arms race. Do you want Watt to go to your rival? No. Anytime the Panthers have been really good, they've had a Hall of Fame level player, in their front seven. That could be Julius Peppers. That could be, Thomas Brown. That could be Luke Kuechly. That could be the late Kevin Green. That could be the late Sam Mills. They've always had dudes like that when they're good. Anytime the Panthers get a guy like that in their front seven, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're going to be a problem. And that's basically my experience with Carolina. Have a lot of respect for them. Have a lot of respect for our division rivals when they're good. When they're not, I love kicking the dirt on them. There's been times when the Saints stink. Panthers just recently stunk. The Saints are about to stink, and the Buccaneers stunk a while ago. And we've kind of been down too. We're kind of in the midst of a bunch of mid. I would say if the Falcons, if TJ Watt were to get traded, I would say the Falcons probably have top 8, top 5 chance to get him, but I wouldn't put him as a favorite. If he is dealt, the teams that I would say are most likely to get him would be Detroit, Washington, or Philadelphia. Just because I think they could sell him on the notion of like, we can contend for a Super Bowl this year and next, where I don't really know if other teams like the Falcons or the Panthers or the Cardinals can really do that. Although I think that those teams are certainly trending up. But again, I think they're going to figure out a way to pay this guy because optically it's terrible if he leaves. Like if you let TJ Watt leave Pittsburgh without winning a playoff game, like what a colossal waste of everyone's time. And again, we should have drafted him over Takk McKinley many years ago. And that was kind of the end of the line for me with Thomas Dimitroff. I'm like, dude hasn't figured it out. This ass is kicked here. But it'd be awesome if we got him on this team. I'd be so excited. And I think he fit in here pretty good. I think the fact that, like, again, his brother, JJ, works for CBS with Matt Ryan, they'd be like, yeah, Atlanta's a good spot. And I think he fit in here pretty well. I mean, I know he's played in the Midwest pretty much his entire career. Grew up there in Wisconsin. Packers is another team too. But again, I think there's maybe people would just bother him too much. Maybe go somewhere else. Again, I think if any team did it, if I had to power rank the 3 that could between Washington, Detroit, and Philadelphia, let's put Philadelphia at 3 because we don't need them to win another Super Bowl. We don't need more obnoxious Philly fans in our face. I would say Washington would be more aggressive than Detroit, just because I know that, like, the coaching staff. I mean, look, I don't think Brad Holmes wants to do it in Detroit, but I think, like, look, if Dan Campbell and Kelvin and then Sheila Ford Ham's like, yeah, you need to make it happen, then they make it happen. Whereas I think Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury be like, you know what? Well, let's do it. You got to pay Terry McLaurin first. I think that's the big thing here, right? That's the most important thing you got to do. Great show today. This was episode 49 of the Blog and Dirty podcast. You can follow me, John Bueller, on Twitter or the X at Bueller118. You can follow the show on YouTube at Blog and Dirty FS. You can follow Blog and Dirty on Twitter or the X at Blog and Dirty. Be sure to watch, like, rate, comment, subscribe, review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Give us a 5-star review on Apple. Really helps the show grow, makes this the audio format here that producer Sean puts up. It's out there for the masses. I mean, I know you love looking at my beautiful face and everything like that, but if you got to drive a car, you can listen to me talk kind of fast and over-caffeinated with slightly damp hair. Yeah, I got to turn the AC off in here because it picks up everything here on Restream. That's how that goes. Again, hit that like button, you want to see the Falcons make the playoffs, and smash that subscribe button like you want to see them win the Super Bowl. Really have enjoyed the engagement we've gotten here, both in the chat, both in comments and everything like that. Again, I do not manage the YouTube channel, but if you see like either of my YouTube names, that's one's personal, one's work. Like I'll interact with that as well. But yeah, I'll be back. Should be regular time next Wednesday. Again, I'm taking a week off, so who knows what next week's show is going to be. It's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, before I head out of here, that's my name. That's my Twitter handle. Be sure to read all my stuff on fansided.com. Be sure to read all the good stuff on bloganddirty.com. If you want to read stuff about the NFL Spin Zone, Atlanta-based stuff, ATL all day, on SI, Sports Illustrated, the Players Tribune. Pretty much consume anything that Minute Media puts out there. I know content's in kind of an interesting spot here in the dawn of AI, but I'm real. I'm authentic. I'm just going to keep being me. Y'all keep being y'all. Once again, thanks for listening. And this is the Blog and Dirty Podcast.